joined the Navy right out of high school. Actually, I joined the reserves before I graduated from high school and spent almost a year in the reserves before I went active duty. And almost immediately upon graduation, I left for active duty.
Okay.
Well, I had the awesome experience of going through the shellback initiation, which is when you cross the equator. It actually becomes a permanent part of your military record, and is quite an experience to go through a shellback initiation. Oh, I remember we had these big drums that aircraft would come in, and they were of course in halves, so you take the upper half off and you could pull the engine out. And so they used the lower half and they filled that somewhat with water, and then used stuff that we didn't finish eating and threw that in there, and made us dive in and dive out of those. And they also built a chute out of canvas and put the same kind of substance in that chute, and then had an electrified rod about halfway down that chute, and when you would get there, they'd hit you with that electrical shock, and you would just flatten yourself out, of course, you know. And it was really different. And I really enjoyed my tour in the Navy. I think my favorite part was flight ops. When we were doing flight ops, I had to very often go out on close to the flight deck and watch the flight ops, and it was just amazing to see those aircraft get on the catapults, and we were still steam driven on our catapults, but they would shoot them off of there, you know, in the length of a football field, you know, and the amount of propulsion and stuff that takes place, and just the number of things that go on as well. I can remember one instance where they put this heat shield up when the aircraft is ready to go, so that he can go on the afterburner, and the airplanes that are behind him waiting to launch aren't affected by the heat blast. And they also pull their fuel, or are supposed to pull their fuel, out of their wing tanks rather than out of the belly tank. And in this particular instance, they pulled it out of the belly tank, and so then when he launched, the fuel shot itself forcibly to the back of the tank and opened up the tank, actually, and caught the airplane on fire. And the two pilots had to eject, and of course they lost the aircraft. And just things like that were so exciting. When the airplane comes in, it catches a hook. I mean, a hook catches a cable, and the cable is what brings him to a stop. And I've seen at least one instance of a cable break, and they're supposed to stay on full power until they come to a stop, so that they have the possibility of still getting off into the air. And this happened just momentarily before he came to a stop, and so he had shut down, and then the cable broke, and of course he couldn't get back up to power again, and so he ended up tumbling off the end of the runway, and both of those pilots died. So there's just all kinds of things that happen on that flight deck that are just amazing.